Hey leader, today I wanted to share with you where we are headed as Strategic Church Network. As you probably know, we have a mission statement that incorporates 4 different things. So we resource churches. We do that through a number of different ways. We connect churches through events, personal connection, maybe one-on-one, small groups, training sessions. We encourage churches, encourage pastors through a pastoral encourager. Also events that we have for pastors and wives or families to get together, just to encourage their hearts, to let them know we love them, God loves them. And then also planting. We plant churches regularly. We've got new ones this year. Every year we've started several new churches. We're grateful to God for that. So as the executive director, I try to keep a tab on what God is doing in the world and then how our network can best connect our mission with what's going on. So I see some cultural touch points for the gospel in the world today. And those are, first, I would say inner city ministry. So we're really answering that through Stowe Mission. I have a heart for people who are underserved and people who don't have many resources because I grew up that way. The church we went to, Burlington Baptist Church, helped us with food, helped us with transportation, helped us with clothes, a lot of stuff like that. So that's really a part of my heart. But younger generations not only see that as part of their heart, they really see that as a focus for the gospel. Because they grew up watching TV where you see somebody open a Bible, read from the Bible, and then you find out that person's doing stuff that they should never be doing. So they believe what you say, but they also want to see what you do. So this helps our church planting. A church planter comes, he starts, it's his family, maybe a few people. People in the neighborhood asking, is this place legit? Is this really a church? They bring them down to Stowe Mission. They see the meals that are being served. They see the dental clinic, the eye clinic, the food pantry, the community kitchen, all these things that are really the hands and feet of Jesus, fulfilling Matthew 25. So we've been doing that for a long time. We will continue to do that and increase the impact of that. But here are some emerging, what I call cultural touch points. It's where the culture meets the gospel. So when I'm witnessing to somebody, not unoften do they say, well, those Christians, I don't believe all that. I don't believe they're really real. So then I tell them about Stowe Mission. Well, those Christians serve 100,000 meals to needy people every year, over 100,000, free dental clinic, free eye clinic. Oh, so it's something nobody can argue with. Well, there are some emerging things like that. One of those is addiction recovery. So when somebody's caught up in addiction, as a church, most churches aren't wired to be able to handle that. Usually refer them to a counselor, maybe they're on medication. Our governor Mike DeWine, his first day in office, he said that was a big problem. The opioid addiction, so it could be alcohol, could be narcotics, could be pornography, which those numbers are almost unbelievable about the percentage of people addicted to that. So we believe the gospel has an answer to that, and it's going to be through the full life recovery that I'm about to share here in a few minutes. But another cultural touch point I see is mental health. There's a book called Your Body Keeps the Score. In it, the author, who was in medical school at Harvard, when it was first discovered that medication can help mental health issues. He says, our solution has always been held captive to the technology available at the time, even in medicine. So a lot of mental health now is reduced to take a certain prescription. Now that's good, that's helpful, but that's not the whole thing. The gospel also has an answer to that. And then interestingly enough, another cultural point of the gospel are the trades. I grew up in a family, nobody had ever gone to college on either side. I went to college, went on to seminary, went on to get a doctorate because I needed a lot more help. Well, that 4-year degree has really fallen out of favor with the culture in general. I was talking to a college president just this past week. He said now some universities are looking at 3-year degrees. You see a lot of these smaller colleges that are going away. So the cultural touch point is moving towards the trades or certificates, short-term certificates. So how does the church address that? Strategic Church Network resources churches. Here's where we're headed with that. So we're calling it the full life recovery. So as you already know, we already do Stowe Mission. We offer gospel, hope, and restoration to people facing hardship. As I mentioned before, help them with emergency needs. The number of showers that people take at Stowe Mission has exponentially increased even over the past year. More and more people in need. It's the economy, a lot of different things. But there will always be part of society that really needs us to fulfill Matthew 25 as a group of Christians. So we already have that going, Stowe Mission. And we also have Strategic Leader Academy going. We just kicked off our second year. This is great. It helps leaders. So whether you're starting and leading a church, a nonprofit, or a business, these really are the principles to pull together to get that thing off the ground. But the full life recovery, I was thinking a lot, and I pray and ask God, what should we do? So this has been several months, even a couple of years ago, I've been thinking about this. So the cultural touch points of the gospel, but then I'm also thinking about the properties that the Strategic Church Network owns. So we own the Stowe Mission property down on Parsons Avenue. We own this. We're in the ministry hub here in northern Columbus. We have a couple of houses that were donated to us a few years ago. We have a warehouse connected with Stowe Mission down on Parsons. Last year, somebody gave us another building up in Delaware, our Delaware ministry hub. So cultural touch points of the gospel. We have these properties. We have over 150 churches well equipped with people of all different abilities. John 10:10, Jesus says, I've come that they might have life and have it more abundantly. So they have life when they get saved, but to have that abundant life, there are needs that people have that we are positioned to address, to resource the churches and helping with that. So Stowe Mission, already going, already doing great. So we're going to add to that a transitional housing. Those two houses that were given to us. Some of you remember a pastor by the name of Grady Evans. When Grady was 76 years old, 76, he came to see me. My office was at Stowe Mission down on Parsons at the time. He said, I want to start a church for registered sex offenders, but nobody will let me meet there. I said, well, you're going to meet here. So he met at Stowe Mission for years. He passed away recently. Incredible guy. So he donated 2 houses to us. So we're moving those from regular rental houses to what we call transitional living houses. So there are 2 of them. We're calling one the Grady House and one the Evans House. Tribute to him, but also to help people who are in addiction transition into being part of normal life, being productive citizens that love Jesus and want to make a difference in the world. So Stowe Mission, people, emergency needs, if you need food, emergency care, Stowe Mission can help. If you're looking to transition into regular life, we're going to have the transitional housing piece. And then there's an outpatient clinic where we will be providing behavioral health. So for a long time, addiction has been an issue. Also, mental health has been an issue. But what we're doing with the outpatient clinic, we will treat co-occurring illnesses or maladies, both addiction recovery and also mental health. So this will be an outpatient clinic. It won't be primary care. It'll be behavioral health where people can come and get assistance medically. They'll also get counseling. They'll also get the gospel and be exposed to gospel community through that. So I'm here in the ministry hub. We did a renovation just a couple years ago of our second floor. At that time, there was a ministry that was going to come and occupy that place, lease the space from us. So even during that time, I'm thinking, well, why don't we just go ahead and do it? Well, then that organization hit some economic headwinds. They weren't able to do it. So that's what we're doing. So we're really pursuing that now. So Stowe Mission, emergency needs, transitional housing to transition into a productive life. Outpatient for people that are struggling with addiction. So when somebody comes to your church and they struggle with addiction, you don't know where to send them, you can send them here. Totally Christian. Statistically, outpatient clinics, and there aren't many of them, or any of them that I really know of in Columbus, that have that spiritual component. The other inroad that we have here, a need that is largely unmet, is in what people call our immigrant community. I call them language churches because they speak a language in addition to English. But people that move here, 139 languages spoken in Columbus, where do they go for addiction recovery and for mental health? They can come here. We not only love them in Jesus' name, we understand them because we understand those cultures. We have pastors and churches in many of those cultures that can come and interpret, translate, understand, and then that provides an inroad for a gospel place for us to point them when they're wondering about that spiritual piece of their development. So Stowe Mission, transitional housing, outpatient clinic, and then a residential treatment center, a detox place up in Delaware. Now, it'll be a few years before we get there. We're not to the capacity yet to do that. But this will be people who need more intensive care. It'll be round-the-clock care in a residential treatment facility. We have to have medical staff, either on-site or on-call, round-the-clock, 24 hours. I have personally met people who were in addiction for years and years and years, became part of a residential treatment center that focused on Jesus. It changed their lives. change the lives of their kids and the generations to come. And it's an answer that churches by and large aren't equipped to handle. We will be doing that and resourcing churches like that. And then you go through the program here, and then if you want to start a church or a business or a nonprofit, we're getting more and more of that. So our sweet spot is really organizational leadership. Those principles are the same. Now, there are spiritual principles in a church that don't apply, but those organizational principles apply across the board. And those are not business principles. Those are principles God created that businesses use. The churches, very effective churches that I've served in those places, also use. So then all of these, one of the questions people have is, so Stowe Mission, get emergency help, housing. Well, how am I going to make a living? So we're starting the Carpenter's Blueprint. So this will be led by a friend of mine who owns his own very successful home renovation company, grew up as a pastor's son, really has a heart for young men, young women, but also for the trades. So the trades, you can get shorter term training and really make more money and build a better life than you can with a whole lot of university degrees. So some of you are familiar with the path of an electrician. If you want to be an electrician, you do this amount of learning, you become a journeyman, you're electrician, plumber, sort of the same thing. With home renovation, it's not like that. How do you become a home renovation person? How do you work for home renovation? It's very random. So this will be a place where they can come and learn that and equip them for the Columbus contractor's license. So right now you can pass that test and get a license and never pick up a hammer. So we're not doing that. We're training them so they'll have the knowledge to do it, but also the practical skills to do that. Then there are also vocational schools that have a waiting list because people, even in high school, want to learn how to do that, but there's not enough places to do it. So we will have a training system for them, equip them for the Columbus contractor's license, but also undergirding that will be the leadership strategy of Jesus. We'll teach them foundational principles, character qualities, and the gospel. It's not really great if a guy knows how to work in home renovation, but he doesn't know how to show up on time. Or it's not good with the people when you go into their home, right? There's a lot of character things that go into that. So that's where we're headed. We're calling it the full life recovery, and it's incorporating the buildings that we already have, right? Stowe Mission's already going, doing well. Traditional housing, transitional housing, already have that. Outpatient clinic, the place is already renovated upstairs, and we have inroads into a lot of different areas that need that. Residential treatment center, another building that was donated to us, and the Strategic Leader Academy that we do here at the Ministry Hub. So I just kind of wanted to give you a brief update. There's a lot of work to this. This outpatient clinic is exponentially more complicated than anything I've ever done in my life. But it's so important, we are leaning into that, and I'm pulling in people. I had the first meeting for people that were interested. So we had 2 nurse practitioners show up that have a heart and passion for people in addiction. One of those has been in addiction herself at one end. Have 2 social workers who love Jesus, really passionate about addiction recovery, helping people with that. We have somebody who's raised a lot of money helping. We have somebody to do operations. We also have a couple people from Stowe Mission that can also help us get connected in all those places. So it's incredible that God's provided the buildings, but also the people for this thing to go. So what we need more than anything is your prayer. As I said, it's very complicated. I don't have a medical background, but I know some people who do. One of our pastors started and grew his own home health care company, grew it to 35 employees. He's helping me with that. It's another person in that key group. So I just wanted to share with you kind of where we're headed. We announced this at the annual meeting. I've talked to a lot of people about it. But thank you so much for your investment here at the Strategic Church Network. We only exist because the churches help us financially. We don't get financial help from cooperative program. We don't get it from any state organizations, no governmental entities help with any of that. It's really our local churches that invest here. So what you give here gets here. So I ask you to not only continue that, but if you would increase that, that would help us tremendously. This is a heavy lift moving into this full life pathway. We can only do that because of you, and we can only continue it because of your help and your influence. Thank you so much for allowing me to serve in this capacity, Executive Director, Strategic Church Network. It is an overwhelming honor. I get to live my dream every day. Thank you so much for doing that. and God will do greater things in the future through our churches, through us working together. Thank you very much for watching this video. Go ahead and press like and subscribe to get more great tips.